Hello everyone, it's Lisa here. I'm back today after a little bit of a break. It's been a while since I've done any videos. I have moved house recently and I've only just got my craft room up and running after a few months. And also I only had my filming setup completed a few days ago, so I haven't been able to record anything up until now. But I am back today with a couple of cards for you. I am using a couple of Simon Says stamp products today on my cards, ones that have been out for a while, and we are showcasing via a little blog party all the, some of the products that we love and we want to breathe a little bit of new life into. The products that I'm using on my cards today are the Centre Cut Heart, the Outline Clustered Leaves die and the Thanks frame. And I've got three colours of Nuvo Shimmer Powders. I'm using Blue Blitz, Atlantic Burst and Falling Leaves. I'm starting off by stamping the Centre Cut Heart background stamp onto some Tim Holtz Distress watercolour cardstock. This is a normal A2 size panel. I have put the stamp into the MISTI and flipped it over onto the lid. I placed my panel of cardstock down onto the stamp and I added some removable tape onto the back. And then I flipped the lid back over towards the base and you will see that that panel then sticks into the base and you have your stamp completely centered over that panel, so you can double stamp knowing that it's going to match up in the right area, but also that you have centered that image. It's a really good tip that I picked up from Jennifer Maguire, and I've used it several times and it's a fantastic way of lining up the stamp. So I'm just adding on some Hero Arts white embossing powder. Got rather excited there and it flew all over my desk. I haven't done this for a while, and I heat set that and then I taped it down onto my media mat. So today I'm going to show you two ways of using the powders. The first is to add them over a heat embossed image. So I'm taking the three colours as I mentioned before. I've got Blue Blitz, Atlantic Burst and Falling Leaves, and I'm just tapping a few bits of each colour all over that panel. I take my water spray and I start spraying the powder just to get it moving. It does take a little bit of practice. You don't want to add too much, otherwise it starts to pool on the image and you lose the detail, but you also need to put enough on so that the powders actually move, and they do start to move on their own, but I didn't put this on a kind of movable surface so that I could tip the water around the panel, but I ended up just dabbing it with my paintbrush, just trying to cover up those white areas where I thought there were gaps, and I picked up any excess with a paper towel. Now I did find that when I did that, I felt like when it dried, I lost a little bit of the shimmer, and in this case I actually lost a bit of the blue colour and I wanted more blue in the panel. So I just went in and added a little bit more, sprayed it again, fussed around with it a bit, and then I left it to dry. I did actually end up heat setting mine to completely dry it, but I did try to let it air dry for as long as possible. Because I was filming, I needed to kind of speed up the process a bit. So for my second panel, I'm just using a plain piece of cardstock here. It's the same Distress watercolor cardstock, and I'm using the more textured side here, and once again I am just putting tiny bits down of each of the powders onto that panel. If you're not worrying about heat embossing an image, it doesn't actually matter which side of the cardstock you use. I just chose to use the more textured side for my second panel. So you can see there I've let them dry. It's really hard to pick up the shimmer on the video, but it is there. So I'm trimming both of the panels down because I had them taped. I have got that white edge around each one of them, so I'm just going to take those off and I'm going to mount them onto some A2 top folding card bases. And I do think you lose some of the vibrancy, and sometimes that can be a good thing, but I do think it looks really, really pretty when they dry. So I've die cut the thanks frame. I did a vellum piece for the background, and then I just used white cardstock for the actual thin frame and the thanks. I added some tiny, tiny bits of foam tape onto the back, and I'm just going to place that down over the top of the panel. To be honest, cutting the little bits of foam tape was the hardest bit of the card. They were absolutely tiny. For my second card, I'm taking the Outline Clustered Leaves die. This is one of my favourite dies of all time. I've used £110 Neenah here to die cut this die because I wanted it to be a little bit more sturdy than the £80, and the advantage of it as well is that some of the leaves actually did stay in the die cut, which is what I wanted. So I'm faffing around just thinking about how I want to place it there, and then I take some multi-medium matte and I add lots of tiny dots along the back there, and I'm placing it down onto the panel. I do put some acrylic blocks onto it. You can see it's moving about a bit there, but I put the blocks on for a couple of minutes and just let that dry. And once again, I use the same thanks die with vellum as my background and just plain white cardstock for the thanks and the tiny frame. And I've added some foam tape on the back of that as well. I did do this beforehand because it did take a while to do that. And I just popped that down onto the top of the panel, and that finished that card. And that's the two cards finished for today. I really did enjoy playing with the powders and using some of my older products from Simon Says Stamp. All the products that I've used today are going to be listed in the description below and over on my blog if you're interested, and I will be back soon with another project for you.